Well, this is a mini episode of Teach Me to Dad. We do this each week with the dad I chatted to, so with Steve. While I had him, I wanted to get his thoughts on a completely unrelated topic that I was really interested on, keen to get his opinion on. So big thanks to Fruit, the app, the sponsor. Check them out at the link. Back to Steve for this week's While I've Got Ya. So Steve, one more question I was keen to get your thoughts on, and just your off the cuff, what do you reckon, is around the idea of masculinity. So kind of what do you think what are the characteristics to be a man? I'm thinking you see quote unquote manly men in the Air Force.
Yep.
And you're a Christian and you see things through the lens of the Bible, not just culture.
Yep.
How do you think about it? How do you think about it with your boys, and who you want them to be? Do you want them to be strong and tough? Do you want,
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a big one. And I suppose my first thoughts are there's a lot of others that have thought carefully about this and maybe worthwhile talking to them or following that up. But some thoughts that come to mind immediately when you ask that question is, what does it mean? What is masculine? What does it mean to be a man? Well, a lot of the way is the way that we relate to one another. Well, the way that a man relates to a woman and the way that a man relates to other men. And I think a big part of, therefore, what it means to be a man will come out in those ways.
Like, what do you mean?
So, in some senses, we might be tempted to or default to what a man does. It could be sport or drink beer, be interested in cars, something like this. But I wonder if it is more helpful, because all those things you're like, oh, a girl can do all of those things.
Yeah.
So that's not what it is to be a man. You know that? But I wonder if it's helpful then to kind of go, well, that's actually a better tool to help us understand what it is to be a man is the way that they interact with or treat or view or speak to or, whatever, a woman. And the way that they interact with, speak to, think it's appropriate to do with another man.
So, like, what? Give us some examples, if that's helpful, or just what do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the first thing. It's you don't just. It's not just you learn to box and get strong and I don't know whatever learn to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
You can't. Being a man isn't an exercise you could theoretically just do by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an example where that might come out with, and I'll show the nuance, which is maybe there. Like, so with my boys, the way that they physically interact with one another, and so whether that might be wrestling, in some senses isn't different to the way that they physically interact with their sister, Betty, because she enjoys a good wrestle too. So am I undoing what I'm trying to say here? The way that they physically relate is the thing that's going to distinguish it? No, not really, because I think they wrestle with their sister differently.
Okay.
And I'm trying to teach that and instill that. And so I hope that they're actually, in terms of strength as children, between the genders is not too much, but I do want to instill...
Probably more age-related at that point.
Yeah. And so, but I do want to instill that you have particular strengths, and so use your... And recognize who you're relating with, and so therefore they can do it. You can do it boy to boy. You've got particular strengths, and so use your strengths in a way that will protect or be used for the good of this other person. Then Yeah, so there's an example of what it might look like now as kids, masculinity.
So tell me if that's right before you go on. This is a way I've almost thought about it. I've wrestled with this. I want to have a longer chat with someone about this with the Bible open, but like, to be masculine or feminine it's not so much to fit some ideal that exists out there, but it's about using your strengths to serve others. And they'll naturally, generally, with lots of exceptions and a spectrum, be certain strengths that women have and strengths that men have. And to be a man is to use your strengths to serve others. And so when you're a grown man, on average, men will be stronger. Therefore, use that strength to serve. That's what being a man looks like. Is that kind of capturing something?
I think in that sense, that's where I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to think of another example, and maybe I'll give an example, and if it's not that helpful, see if you can cut it out. But I don't know if this is an editable thing.
Go on.
Yeah. Like, there is also the things that the other... It's not necessarily a strength, but it's an area where you can... that you might have a weakness. You might have a weakness and you'll exploit it to get something out of the other person. So there's that as well. And this is where I just kind of wanted to be a little bit careful. But like, sometimes I've seen with Betty, so this is... I should give her a strength that she's got that she could exploit, and it could easily do that as well. But like, with that, the reverse of needing to be protected. So I don't want her to therefore kind of cower or make much of a circumstance or situation which isn't really there, because she knows that when she does that, there's this little default thing of, you're meant to protect, and here she is, and she's weak, and she's made herself that way because of the words that she's saying, or and so I'm trying to also at the same time help Betty not to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, the way that you were speaking and the volume that you were speaking at made us all think that this was really, really serious and that you were in a lot of danger. But I don't know if you were you in that much danger? Let's use those words for when you really do need them. So there's a correction to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, that's something I'm really keen to ponder around, and I bounce around on it lots. The whole, are there any differences with how I want to raise my boys to my girls? I kind of bounce around. Kind of like, I think I want pretty much the same thing for both of them. But I guess naturally there'll be some things that are different because they're boys and because she's a girl and just because they're different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She might be the best fighter in the family. You know what I mean? She might be the next Ronda Rousey and beat up everyone, and cool.
Yeah.
When we're in a dark alley, I think she'll be the one to come to the rescue. I don't know.
Sure.
These are all the things that I ponder, and I'm keen to figure out, what's just cultural, what's the Bible, yeah.
I think so much stuff just comes out so that I cannot see how we've been the ones, or society's been the one that has put this in my daughter in comparison to my three sons. Just the things that she's interested in, the things that you can see bring her alive when we say those things to her, are just in lots of ways very different to the boys. Her appearance, she cares about the clothes that she's wearing, or how she looks, and much more than what the boys do.
I still haven't figured out how to dress properly yet. I'll get
there. She's much more articulate. My wife was just saying this morning that, like, it feels like she's in touch with the world around her far more than what, like, out of all of our kids. Now, is that just her? It could be, but there's something, sometimes just, there's a feminine trait about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's helpful. Anyway, I was just keen to get your thoughts. Bit of a ongoing journey I'm trying to figure out on that one. So I appreciate some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
It's good.
Good.